It'll be Jason and Chingel out of the hold of Mesco. Good snap, good hold, and the kick is blocked. Appalachian State has stunned the college football world. One of the greatest upsets in sports history.
Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Well, good morning, and a good Thursday morning to you and yours, and welcome to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We come your way Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern. You can find us at YouTube/Chatterbox Sports. We ask that you please subscribe to the program. If you prefer to join us in podcast form, please do. Search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman wherever you get your podcast, and you're dialed in. Gentlemen, good morning. We've got a full house today. Casey McAllister with his NKU lid on. Paul Fritzner was at the game last night, and the Dunce is back from a trip to Chicago. Brandon Seho in the house today. Gentlemen, how's everybody doing? You are a front runner, Casey.
Casey, bring this up. Show the people
front runner.
I need to get some mead. Me and Leaf, we're going out tonight. Because, baby, North's up. They won. Let's go.
And for those of you that don't know what Casey's talking about, this was a shocker, and we're going to get to it a little bit later on. In fact, we have the NKU head coach coming on the program today, thanks to Brandon Seho. That would be Darren Horn. That's a big-time win for the Norse and a big-time L for your Bearcats.
Big win for them. UC's offense, I don't know what that was last night.
They scored 11 points in the second half.
It was.
I had a fifth-grade girls basketball team that won the city championship. I don't think there was one time all year long. These are 10-year-old little girls. I don't think there was one time all year long we had 11 points and a half.
Yeah, it wasn't great. But, Drew McDonald, NKU great, tweeted me back yesterday and said, how about maybe just the best defensive performance in the second half?
Fair enough.
It was pretty good. UC's offense, they got to figure some stuff out.
You were there. It was electric.
It was an electric environment. It was the biggest crowd in NKU's history. 8503 was the crowd. It was a great environment, and you could tell in the second half. I did a podcast afterward breaking it down, and with about, I would say, 10 minutes left, I think it was still a 5-point game. It might have been a 7-point game with about 10 minutes left. And I looked at the guys that I was with, and I said, this is over. Like, there was no doubt in my mind with about 10 minutes left in the game, UC could not score. And they weren't doing anything that showed – it wasn't like they were getting a ton of open shots. And, Rick Broering, who I had on the Rebound Rundown this morning, who's NKU's radio analyst, he made the point after the show – or after the game last night, I'm not sure if you tipped the ball up 10 times, NKU would win 7 or 8 of them. I mean, they thoroughly dominated that. They were more physical. They were bigger. They out-rebounded. They out-defended. They outscored. Darren Horn ran – great sets all night long, especially in the second half. Baseline out of bounds plays that were just
that's
wide
a mark,
open shots.
Among other things, that's a mark of a really good coach.
Out of a timeout.
Well, I mean, yeah, and inbounds plays underneath the basket. I don't think I've ever seen anybody in my life that was better at that than Thad Matta.
Yeah,
that guy ran some incredible sets.
Yeah, Chris Mack was really good at that too.
Yep.
Yeah, a couple of trademark guys in that style. But yeah, it was a thorough game from NKU. That wasn't a fluke at the buzzer. And that was and it's an NKU team that is picked at the top of the Horizon League.
Yep.
I mean, it's not a joke of a team. This is not like, to me, a game that – I wasn't shocked. I think 85% of the big money from Vegas was all the sharps were on NKU. I think 70% of the bets were on UC, but 85% of the money was on NKU.
Wow.
Which tells you all – I mean –
wow.
Yeah. So
okay.
So from that perspective, I wasn't shocked. I was shocked that it was a 13-point game, though.
We're going to talk about it a little bit later on. Again, we have Darren Horn, the head coach of the Norse, and we've established for sure that Casey is the ultimate front runner. We have not seen one shred of clothing, hats, shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, nothing until he walks in today with a Norse pullover and a Norse fishing lid.
Yep. Those are honestly the only two items that I had in my house. I don't know where my basketball stuff went, but good for the Norse. Also, but
that's right. You never, ever, ever.
Tom wears Ohio. I wear UC. Paul wears Xavier.
And TCU.
And
All
TCU.
sports at TCU attire. Big league.
I've never seen any, and you went there. But
Well,
I've never seen the Spirit wear. That's kind of is that a fake?
You're
Is that a
spot
fake
on,
fan?
Brandon.
the
You're
season
spot
just
on.
started.
The season just started. You can wear them anytime. I'll wear UC in the middle of the summer.
He didn't wear NKU stuff when they got beat this year. They're now 3-1, 2-1,
Well, the
whatever
season
they
just
are.
started. I'm not like
Excuses.
No doubt. No doubt.
Oh,
Although
by
I
the
can't
way,
talk after last night. I mean,
No, but at least you're there with your team through thick and thin, okay?
Oh,
I just happen to, root for the Bobcats, and all they do is win.
right. They are on fire of late.
You know
By
what?
the way,
Oh, go ahead.
my Fighting Leprechauns. Oh, they also won last night.
They did.
I'm on a roll in my fandom.
Mike Bray.
One of my best friends from college was at that game. Not a ton of people were at
Southern Indiana.
at that one last night.
Well, in a lot of colleges, the kids get out. I know our daughter's flying back into town for Thanksgiving break later tonight. I'm picking her up around midnight. And so I think a lot of kids, when you see some of these football games now and basketball games over the weekend, I think you're going to see a lot of that.
One other thing, just as a broadcaster, you'd appreciate this. So I sat initially last night. I got my tickets and just sat up in the nosebleeds before we moved down for the second half. And I noticed something was going on because NKU's Wi-Fi, I didn't know this at the time.
Oh, yeah. Did you hear about this,
So
Tom?
NKU's Wi-Fi went out across the whole campus. Campus-wide Wi-Fi went out, so there were no stats on the video board, nothing. And immediately as a broadcaster, I think to look down to the scorers table, and I see Jim Kelch and Rick Broering. They don't have their headsets on. I see Dan Hoard down at the other end. He's broadcasting into his phone onto the radio.
Yep.
And then I see Rick and Jim. They're passing their phone back and forth too. And the ESPN stream was down because I guess everybody had overcrowded the Wi-Fi and everything. But just as a broadcaster, seeing everybody pass their phones back and forth,
been there.
Such a relatable experience.
No doubt. Been there. All right. On the front burner, at least this morning, Bengals and the Steelers. You know they're going to tee it up Sunday at 4:25 in the Steel City. Kenny Pickett will start at quarterback this time for the men of aluminum. Now, Pickett is 2-3 since taking over as a starter. He's also been concussed in a start. It should be noted, his record as a starter is 2-3, but Trubisky brought him back to win one of those games. Pickett gets credit for winning as a starter. He was not in the game, so technically his record is 1-3 as a starter. But you go back to the 2000 season, Bengals fans don't like to hear this. This has been all Steelers, including a win this year, 35-12 against the Bengals since the 2000 year. Longtime NFL assistant, including with the Bengals, Kyle Caskey, will join us at 10:45 to talk about this game. Now, up in Cleveland, Deshaun Watson practiced with the Browns for the first time since August yesterday. Now, since early October, he's been allowed to come into their facility and work out, can sit in on team meetings, but not practice. He is scheduled back in 2 more weeks. That will be just in time for the Bengals and Browns. The Saints are sticking with Andy Dalton as their starter for at least another week. The same for Taylor Heineke. We talked about this in D.C. The Commanders are 3-1 since he took over for the injured Carson Wentz. And apparently, they're saying Wentz is not ready to go yet, so it will be Heineke this weekend. Thursday night football tonight. You know I'm high on Tennessee. Titans go to Green Bay. And the Titans are trying to field a team for this game. Now, bear in mind, they've already lost their starting left tackle for the year, their best pass rusher for the year, another starting offensive lineman for the year. Their quarterback has played hurt or missed nearly half the season. And now 5 starters are out for sure tonight. 2 others unlikely to play. Yet Tennessee, despite all of that, sits atop the very weak AFC South. They're 6-3. Green Bay is 4-6, coming off a season-saving, perhaps, win last Sunday at Lambeau over Dallas. College football, Miami at Northern Illinois last night. The Redhawks win it 29-23. They got to win their last game of the year to be bowl eligible. We wish them well. Baseball news. The awards week continues. Miami's pitcher Sandy Alcantara named the National League Cy Young Award winner. In fact, he got all 30 first-place votes, and why not? He threw more innings in a season than any major league pitcher going back to 2016. His 6 complete games were more than any team in Major League Baseball. He's the first Marlin to ever win the award. Now, over in the American League, it was a slam dunk. Justin Verlander wins his 3rd Cy Young Award. He led the league in wins at 18, a 1.75 ERA. Interesting fact here. With Verlander, like Alcantara, winning unanimously, it's the first time that has happened in the same season, going all the way back to 1968 when Bob Gibson and Denny McClain did the same thing. College hoops. We touched on it briefly. UC at NKU last night. The Norse hold the Bearcats to 11 points in the second half. UC had scored 40 in the first half. The Norse win at 64-51. NKU now 2-1. UC 3-1. And again, Darren Horn, head coach at NKU, kind enough to join us today at 11 o'clock. Ohio State mashes Eastern Illinois. Buckeyes go to 3-0, 65-43 win. Big upset in top 20 action last night. Number 11, Texas, just drills number 2, Gonzaga. 92-74. Kentucky will play Gonzaga this weekend. Gonzaga.
Yeah, they
never win the big one when it matters.
No, they don't, and they didn't look good last night. They didn't look great against Michigan State last week on the aircraft carrier in that game. I don't know if you saw any of that.
I did not.
Such a cool scene.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those before.
Such a cool scene, but they didn't look great against Michigan State, and you had a feeling that this was not that invincible Gonzaga team that we've seen before. This isn't the 2020 Gonzaga team. Drew Timme, just something about him. I don't know what it is this year, but that Texas game last night, by the time I got home from NKU, I caught the second half of it. The second half of that Texas game had to have been one of the most exciting second halves of basketball. It was the most complete performance from a top 5 team. Texas is going to be in the top 5 after. They have to be. They looked amazing. What Chris Beard has done at Texas to rejuvenate that
guy's a great coach.
To rejuvenate that fan base, to get everybody excited. The arena, they just opened a new arena. I don't know if you saw any of the pictures, but they have these video boards that go around the top of the arena that double as sound boards that keep the sound trap down in the arena. The environment was great, and credit to Texas. I mean, they were throwing alley-oops all over the place. Gonzaga was never in it in the second half.
Well, that guy is a big-time coach. I think it was Texas Tech he took to the championship game.
Probably should have won that national championship
a couple years ago.
Yeah.
He's a big-time coach. They made the right hire there. There's no doubt about it. They've gone through a laundry list again. Rick Barnes did a great job down there for a long time, but never got him over the hump. And then who's the other cat they brought in here? I'm trying to remember.
Shaka Smart.
Yeah, he couldn't get it.
And he went to Marquette.
Yeah.
But credit to Texas Tech, too. They got Mark Adams, and he just slid right in there, and Texas Tech's 3-0. So,
well, boys, the Bengals this weekend. I was thinking about this last night, and Zach Taylor, I went back and read some of the articles after week 1 when he was asked the question about the whole Steeler thing. And I know that, they obviously played very well against Pittsburgh last year. Joe Mixon ran the ball very well against Pittsburgh last year. He virtually did not run it effectively at all week 1 when the Bengals turned the ball over 5 times, 4 picks by Burrow, 1 fumble by Burrow, in a game they still should have won, 23-20 in overtime. But there's just something about Pittsburgh. I mean, even the most hardcore Bengals fan has to admit there is something about playing the Steelers. Now, a big part of that for a long time was Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, first ballot, Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. When you go in and you start digging around in the numbers during his career, I mean, forget the passing yards, the touchdowns. We know all about that. But it's almost reminiscent of Tom Brady inside the AFC East all the years he was with New England. The way Roethlisberger dominated for 15 years inside the AFC North. But now he's gone. And now it's the Kenny Pickett era. Now, there are a lot of people that felt like Pickett was not a legitimate first-round pick as a quarterback. I didn't watch him enough at Pitt to know. I don't know. But I do know that Mike Tomlin made that move. He said, all right, Trubisky's here for the interim. He's not our long-term plan. Season has not started well. We're going with Kenny Pickett. So this will be his first time ever starting against the Cincinnati Bengals. There are a lot of things to like about Pickett. I mean, he's playing for a bad team. He's been beat up already. We mentioned, in essence, he's credited for being 2-3 as a starter, but really 1-3. But you know one thing they've done, guys? They've stayed in games. They haven't been blown out by people. I mean, there were a couple of games where they were 7, 10, 12, I think is high against Buffalo, if I remember right, as a 13, 14-point underdog. And they found a way to hang in there.
Feisty.
And they're undefeated 2-0 with T.J. Watt.
I don't know if that's more of a testament to their defense keeping them in games or Kenny Pickett. I'm going to have to go with the defense being the reason why they're in these games. I don't know if you've seen the numbers for Kenny Pickett, but they're not great.
I know they're not great. But they're at home, right? And I said it yesterday, and Paul, you raised your eyebrows in shock when I said it, that I think the Bengals, if they don't win on Sunday, I think they're done.
I really don't disagree with you, honestly. That does not. You gotta have at least a 500 record in your division, not just because of what we could do if we could win our division, which I doubt. We're probably going to go for a wild card. But those are AFC opponents, and we're already below 500 on the AFC column.
Yep.
So that wild card spot will just keep getting harder and harder to achieve if we don't get a better record in the AFC. And that requires us beating our divisional opponents. So you go 2-4 instead of 3-3 in the AFC, and it's not a good look for our wild card chances.
When you sit here and you look at 7 teams make the playoffs from each conference. Right now, the Bengals sit in the 9 hole. And because of what you just talked about, whether it's win percentage in conference games, tie breaks on strength of victory, you know, that starts to come down the column a little bit. But right now, New England and the Chargers both sit in front of the Bengals for the final wild card spot in the AFC. Now, I know we've only played 9 games here in the season. Some teams have played 10. Miami 7-3, number 2 seed behind Kansas City. Tennessee, a division leader at 3. Baltimore, division leader at 4. The Bengals are only technically one behind Baltimore. They're really, I would argue for sure, well, you can't argue. They're for sure 2 behind Baltimore right now because of a tie break, and 3 behind Baltimore if you start going inside the division record. So we have talked about the Bengals and what they're going to do. Guys, I got to tell you, and I said it the other day as well, this is a game that comes down to 2 things in my mind. One, can the Bengals run the ball? Are they going to try and run the ball? Or are we flipping back to that fiasco against Cleveland where they threw it 17 out of 21 times to start the game? And then number 2, can they protect Joe Burrow? Any disagreement with that?
No. It's spot on. I really don't have much more to add.
All right, well, how would you what do you believe, and we're going to ask Kyle Caskey this in a little while. He knows all about offense and offensive football. Do you believe that this offensive staff, not only Zach Taylor, although he, ultimately, the buck stops here, as the saying goes, and Callahan, the offensive coordinator, do you think they have come to the realization for our offense to be what we want it to be, with or without Jamar Chase, and they'll be without Jamar Chase again this weekend, do you suspect we're going to see a Bengals offense that is committed to running the football?
I would love to say yes, but I have very little faith in Zach Taylor. Because what he does is he has one good game and then he turns around and has a really bad game. So last year, though, he had a stretch there where he was committed to running the ball. It was around the same time period, and I know we were done talking about last year, but it almost seems like it's a repeat of last year, honestly. We're doing the exact same thing, going into it with a very strong run game performance from our running back. And last year we just ran the ball down Pittsburgh's throat. And then that was able to open up the stuff over the top. Not only that, TJ was just coming back from injury that game too. So I don't know. I really hope that they come out with a strong running game, because I think that's what's going to give us the edge over them, because you got to slow down the pass rush. You can't afford to go out there 17 times in a row and try to throw the football. You got to have at least a 50-50 initially to start the game. The first 20 plays should be 10 pass, 10 running, or, in that 50 to 40, 60 range of play calling. So I want to say yes, that they'll run the football, but with Zach Taylor at the helm, you just don't know. It's not obvious with him.
Paul?
I would like to think that the same point that I have made the last couple of weeks about how the Bengals are showing more maturity in their play calling with less of the gimmicky stuff, that all comes to a head on Sunday, and that they can be a fluid offensive team that's not playing in prime time in Pittsburgh, to go in there and get the job done efficiently. That's just the most important thing. Keep Joe Burrow protected, but run the ball and establish that run to open up the passing game. They got to be able to do that effectively, or else it's going to be another long afternoon. But I think they win, Tom. I think they get this done. I know the struggles they've had, but they got to get this done. And to the Bengals' credit, look back to last season. When their backs have been against the wall, they've been able to win games. They have. And I know early in the season that didn't happen, but injuries, the whole Clark Harris thing, all that, weird things happen that they didn't. But when the Bengals have really needed to win games last year, this year, now that they're going to have to prove it, I think they get it done. I do. Just they have what you always want to do, in my mind, and I talk about this in basketball a lot, you want to have the best player on the court. You want to have the best player on the field. And the Bengals have that in Joe Burrow. He's better to the Bengals than TJ Watt is.
We talk about the pass rush and teams that the Bengals have faced this year that have a good pass rush. Week 1 they did, right? They gave up 6 sacks. Week 2 they gave up 7 sacks. They looked like they had it together against some bad teams. They did not protect Burrow well in the Cleveland game. And I did not realize, I had no idea the kind of year, we talk about Watt and Cameron Hayward. Alex Highsmith has 8.5 sacks for the Pittsburgh Steelers so far this year. Yep. 8.5. So you're talking about 2 guys on the edge now, and Highsmith and Watt back. Hayward, who I think, next to Aaron Donald, Hayward for the last 5-7 years has been the second best defensive tackle in the NFL. That guy is a stud. They move him all over the place. That guy's a stud. And I don't say it because he's an Ohio State guy. He is just a great player and a great leader. Now all of a sudden you're looking at 3 guys.
And don't forget Larry Ogunjobi. That's 4.
Well, we're about to find out this coming Sunday. Now this game tonight, you wanted to talk about this game, Casey.
Yeah.
The Tennessee Titans, who, as I mentioned, have injuries all over the place. And, you know, I mean, I'm high on the Titans. Bengals play them next week down in Tennessee. I'm a big Titans guy. I like the way they play. I like their style. I love their toughness. No excuses about injuries ever, ever. Before the season even started, they lose their best pass rusher. Since the season started, they're starting left tackle out for the year. Another offensive lineman out for the year. I mentioned a short while ago on the injury list yesterday, they've already ruled 5 starters out for sure, in addition to the guys I'm talking about. Another 2 that are questionable. So even if they play, you wonder about their effectiveness. And Green Bay still trying to keep its postseason hopes alive. This is a rare good Thursday night game tonight. A lot of intrigue tonight.
Yes. Yes. This one is going to, I hope, redeem the Thursday night football schedule that's just been miserable this year. I hope the Pack is back. I believe they're back. If they do the exact game plan that they did against Dallas, they will be able to win this football game. I also want to say this is going to be a great example as to why I think Ryan Tannehill is not a very good quarterback. There's a reason why they run Derrick Henry. He's one of the best running backs in all football, but there's a reason why he runs 35 times a game. It's because he can't win them a football game. Ryan Tannehill can't win them a football game. So I think the Packers defense, it's not that bad. It's pretty good. Packers are starting to figure out that they need to be a little bit more balanced, have some play action, run the football. That's a good recipe for them to be clean, to not make very many mistakes, to allow Aaron Rodgers to be the quarterback we all know he can be when it matters most, and to also prove a point that Ryan Tannehill is just not that very – he's just not good. He's not going to win you a game that matters.
Okay, well, let's just go back since Tannehill, since you say that, has taken over as a starter in Tennessee.
Yeah.
First-round pick originally by Miami. Okay?
Yep.
You know, right at 500, little over 500 in his 5 years as a starter. Then he got hurt in 2017, came back, 500 again in 18. Then he goes to Tennessee. Since getting to Tennessee, started 10 games, 7-3, 70% completion percentage, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. They go to the playoffs. He's a comeback player of the year in the NFL. The next year starts every game. They go 11-5, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Yep.
Last year, 12-5 record. 12-5 on the heels of 11-5 on the heels of 7-3. 21 touchdowns, those throw 14 interceptions. Now, this year he's only started 7 games, but he's 5-2. Doesn't throw it a lot, only 8 touchdowns, as you mentioned, but only 3 picks. So, you say he's not very good. He's been a comeback player of the year. He's like 20 games over 500 since taking over in Tennessee as a starter.
Yep.
And he's been to 2 Pro Bowls.
Yep.
Now, you're telling me he's not very good?
No, he's not very good.
Paul, you have a
he's
shit-eating grin on your face. What are you laughing about over there?
This dynamic just cracks me up.
Honestly, he might actually stink. He's on borderline stink for me on my quarterback tier list.
Oh, my God.
I might have to make one of those.
Oh, my God.
But Ryan Tannehill.
At the end of the day, what is it about? The stat column or winning games? He takes the Titans to the playoffs every year.
He is a Andy Dalton.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
You know why? Because
Why?
he's already won triple the amount of playoff games that Andy Dalton's won.
Okay, but still, he needs a team.
He's not Andy Dalton.
He needs a full team. He needed A.J. Brown and a Corey Davis to even have a 33-touchdown season. Those two ball out every single week. A.J. Brown
That's
just
like
had a
saying
3-touchdown
guns
week.
kill people. People kill people. You're telling me that a wide receiver is reason why a quarterback throws 33 touchdowns in a year? The wide receivers?
Just so he also has one of the best running backs of all
He
football.
does. There's no doubt. No doubt about that.
All teams are
but that's
stacking
their
the
style
box.
of play. That's their style of play.
If the Titans
Some
had
teams
Joe
slinging
Burrow,
around 35, 40 times a game. You know when you play the Tennessee Titans, they're going to turn around and hand it off 30 times to one of the top 2 running backs in the league, maybe the best, and they're going to smash you in the mouth and to keep on swinging. And on defense, they're going to do the same thing. That is their that word that's used frequently, that is their identity. What is the Bengals' identity? They got stars all over the field. What's their identity? Are they a run team? Are they a pass team? Are they a smash you in the mouth team? To answer that question, and I can't answer that question, we don't know. Because against the really crummy teams, they look like one of the best offenses in the NFL. Our buddy 6412 Mars is lighting us up here today. He's saying you guys make valid points, but they're all negative. We're not being negative. We're not being negative. We're just bringing up valid, as you say, points.
and I think
Sir Boy Wonder says, oh, my God, Ryan Tannehill is not good.
yeah, he's not good.
And he makes a point, which I would agree with this. He says that Ryan Tannehill is not going to win a Super Bowl. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. And I think there are guys who, on paper, a lot of people think can win a Super Bowl. Maybe they will. I'm not high on the Kirk Cousins of the world. I'm not high on the Dak Prescotts of the world. But one thing Tannehill does better than Cousins and Prescott is he wins. He wins games as a starting quarterback, and infrequently, though he did in the playoffs last year against the Bengals, infrequently does he lose you games.
All right, but
You can't say that means the guy stinks.
No, hang on. He is a system guy that needs a bunch of good talent around him to succeed. That sounds exactly like Andy Dalton. You place Ryan Tannehill on any other team in football right now, and he flops.
Well,
Same with Andy
and
Dalton.
Lure Up says you put him on other teams. That's like saying, okay, you could plug that in for a lot of guys. But he plays for a team that this is what they ask him to do. That is their identity. Okay? So I don't want to hear about what he would look like with other teams. We're talking about Ryan Tannehill and the team that he plays for now. AJ says, if I were in the studio, I'd stick a nail in that dollar store looking Ohio State ball that the Buckeye Slappy has in front of him. Big Art makes a good point here, though, Case.
Yeah, what?
Big Art says, if Trent Dilfer can win a Super Bowl, why can't Ryan Tannehill?
Because he proved it against the Bengals. He throws 3 interceptions, terrible interceptions, I might add.
That's one game.
Oh, he's bad when it matters most. You put here, the argument of placing a quarterback on different teams, I think is actually not a bad argument because that proves that that quarterback doesn't have very many limitations and that he can ball out. You put Pat Mahomes on any team and he's going to ball out.
That's Pat Mahomes. I'm not talking about
good.
the
He's a
elite
good
of the
quarterback.
elite here. I'm not saying
Joe Burrow.
Tannehill's an elite guy. I'm not putting him in a category with Burrow and Mahomes and Josh Allen. I'm not doing that. I'm saying this guy is a winning quarterback. That's what he is.
I don't think he's much more than that, though.
Okay.
But he's solid.
And that's the debate we're having here. Casey says that Ryan Tannehill stinks. That is ridiculous.
I don't want to enter the fray here. I don't want to enter the fray.
Oh, come on.
You are the
Paul.
swaying vote here.
You're
the swing vote.
I mean,
does he stink or does he not stink?
I don't think he's very good. But but he does win games. And at some point, at the end of the day, when you want your quarterbacks to win games or lose you games, he wins games, and you can't deny that.
He's good, not great.
He's serviceable.
He's good.
He's serviceable.
Guys, there are guys in the NFL that you guys think are good.
Yeah.
That their touchdown to interception ratio is like 1.5 or 2-1. Tannehill, since taking over in Tennessee, and a lot of people are screaming, well, what about Miami? Miami was terrible when he was there. They were awful. They went through a laundry list of coaches. He's got a real head coach now.
He took them to the playoffs once.
Well, I'm just saying, they weren't any good. Now he's in where they ask him to do what they ask him to do, and all they do is win. And his touchdown to interception ratio since taking over in Tennessee last year was a little shaky. But the 2 years prior to that, I mean, come on. Come on. That's great. Do you?
No.
You think Kirk Cousins is great?
If he plays at 1 p.m.
Oh, my God.
You like that?
All right. We're going to take a break. I mean, come on. It says our stream keeps buffering. Is that true?
Yeah, it just started buffering. So let's take a break.
All right, let's take a break. We're back with more in a moment.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time. And if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Swinney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Swinney, the original used car superstore.
I was watching, there is a documentary about Nolan Ryan on Netflix, which is a spectacular piece. And I say that in all seriousness. I always thought, he was one of the great pitchers of all time. But after watching this thing, you just scratch your head and have a hard time coming to grips with how a guy can hold or at one time held 51 major league pitching records. They have a lot of quick cuts in that documentary of doing what Nolan did best, and that's striking people out. Lo and behold, what pops up? But Tracy Jones standing there, striking out and looking like a washerwoman in the process. He wanted to get out of that batter's butt. He swung at a pitch that he could not have hit with an ironing board that was up and away, and almost fell down, but couldn't wait to get back to that dugout. I had to rewind it to make sure it was him, and it was. So just, if you get a chance to remember, just run that by him a bit when you all have him on Thursday.
Yeah, that was a long.
All right, we're back on Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. By the way, you're right about our streaming having some hiccups here, so we ask you to refresh a page. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, just refresh the page.
Okay.
Should be good now.
Just refresh it. Getting lots of nice feedback. That was fun, sitting there having that conversation. I'm going to ask Kyle Caskey his thoughts on Ryan Tannehill, because he was with Jacksonville with Urban Meyer in 2021, last year. And, of course, they played against Tennessee in the same division. Okay. Most of you just reminding us that refresh the page. We're all good.
Besides that, though, that Thursday night game, I really want to see Aaron Rodgers perform well. I really hope that he's not done like people are saying.
Who said he's done?
A lot of the media is calling his play into question, and I just don't. And especially Trace, who's watched the Packers, thinks that he might be done.
Done? Aaron Rodgers done?
Yeah, I might be misquoting him, but he's had some issues with Aaron and his no weapons.
Many people are saying, Tom.
Many people are saying that.
Many people are saying.
I could be misquoting him.
Well, I mean,
if not,
look, there is no way Aaron Rodgers is done. I mean, come. And early in the year, they were not getting that. I don't know if they're getting it now. I mean, just because they won one game last week over Dallas at home doesn't mean all of a sudden their season's turned around. You think they're turned around, Casey, at 4-6?
Well, they showed really good signs of that just this last game against Dallas. I thought they had a really good game plan. And I think that's what's going to take for the Packers to succeed, is to be able to run the football and use play action. Aaron Rodgers is one of the best play action quarterbacks in the NFL.
No doubt.
And it's I think their winning recipe. If they can continue to be able to run the football, I think they'll be able to succeed.
Well, let's take a look real quick, just for the sake of argument, of where the Packers, how far they have to go. Okay. Right now, I mean, they're hovering right there at 4-6. They're behind the San Francisco 49ers to get in the playoffs. And they're behind the Washington Football Wizards, now known as the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a long road for them to come back and win, but I think with Aaron, I don't know if it's like my bias-y towards Aaron Rodgers. I think he's one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL, maybe of all time, and I think he can get them to at least the wild card.
Okay. Well, he's got some work to do, and we got some work to do with Kyle Caskey. Pleasure to be joined. Former player for the Aggies down at Texas A&M, but also big-time discus guy. Kyle, did you walk away from football at Texas A&M to concentrate on track and field, where you were an all Big 12 performer? Is that right?
I did, and scholarship money was involved, so I kind of had to do that. It wasn't necessarily that I really wanted to move away from football, but obviously I have made my way back into football and trying to make my way back in again. So it's just it's a different lifestyle we live as coaches and football players and different things. So getting used to it.
You spent 9 years as an assistant coach with the Bengals. You had stops also in Detroit, and I mentioned a little while ago last year with Urban Meyer down there in Jacksonville. And obviously, you just said looking to get back, and we certainly hope you do. We want to see that happen for you. We're talking about Ryan Tannehill for a minute. Now, I know you were only there in Jacksonville for a year. I understand that, but you play inside that division against Tennessee. I maintain the guy is a solid, good quarterback who doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Their team and their identity is clearly to play great defense and run the football. What's your assessment of Ryan Tannehill? Just kind of curious.
Well, number one, he's an Aggie, so, I mean, I can't say anything bad about him.
Oh, forgot about that part. Okay.
He's also he was also the starting receiver there before he was the starting quarterback. So if that tells you anything about his athletic ability, I think Ryan Tannehill is perfect for what they're doing in Tennessee because they got Derrick Henry, obviously, and that whole team is built around Derrick Henry and that defense, like you said. And you need a guy that could come in there and handle the offense. I hate to say be a game manager, but he makes enough plays. Now, he's been hurt right now. So, right now I think he's not necessarily at full speed because of his ankle. But when he's full speed and he's in he's healthy, he can run the ball. And I think that's where, we saw him, beat us a couple times, not just because of Derrick Henry, but because, I mean, he made some clutch throws and every once in a while you lose contain on him and he scrambles on you. So, again, he's not healthy right now. So I would agree he's not playing at his top form right now.
You look at the Bengals and the Steelers this week, and you're an offensive-minded guy. I don't know if you feel like the word identity is used too frequently in this day and age when it comes to a team's, offense, defense, collectively, the whole 9 yards. When you look at the Bengals and their offense, where do you think they are right now? I mean, are they a team that wants to run it well and they've run it well against crummy teams? Are they a team you think we're going to see run it a little bit more as the weather starts to go south, all those kinds of things? Or do you think that they would prefer to sling it around?
Honestly, I think they would love to throw it. They'd love to win by throwing, and I think you've got the quarterback and the receivers to do it. But you got to remember, you revamped that O-line, and you didn't revamp that O-line necessarily to sit back and pass block the whole game. You revamped them to bring some bigger, better bodies in there and run the ball because you got Joe Mixon. And obviously they did that this last game. I think they would like to be able to be more balanced, and I think they're pushing themselves in that direction. But again, when you've got Joe Burrow and you got RPOs called, and we had the same issue with Andy back in the day, is if you tagged an RPO to a run, he's a quarterback. He wants to throw the ball. So if you had off coverage on A.J. Green and you had a hitch route called for the RPO, he was throwing the hitch. So it just depends on how you call it and what they decide to do going forward, because I do agree. I think Carolina's down. So you look at the way that they ran the ball against Carolina, and that's not necessarily what I think they are 100%, but they showed they could do it. So you might as well, move forward, push the run game a little bit more, see what happens, especially against Pittsburgh. You can't just sit there and just throw the ball all day. And those edge defenders are going to, and Cam Hayward and those guys are going to hunt you down at some point.
I'm just curious. When you're an offense and you start to have some injuries, we talked about Tennessee a little while ago. The Bengals are without Jamar Chase. As a staff, is it normal, an offensive staff, to say, okay, fellas, we need to rethink about the style of play we want to have here based on injuries? Or are you counting on guys? They still have Higgins. They still have Boyd. They've got Hayden Hurst. So they have some guys they can throw the football to. But do you say, you know what, we're going to have to be a little bit more of this because of the situation we're in?
I think you got to look at who's the guy that's out, number one. I mean, obviously Jamar Chase is your, second best player on that team. Some might argue first best player on the team behind Burrow. But you're looking at, can you still run the offense you had because of the position the kid played? And I think they're trying to say we can still run the same offense because really, it's one out of three receivers that are on the field at all times. So if we could find somebody to go out there and just hold his spot for a minute, we could use the other guys we've got. which I think is a good thing to think about. But I liked what they did against Carolina, as they said, well, I mean, the run game's working, so we're just going to lean on that for this game, get the win, get out of here, and keep moving forward into the bye. And against Pittsburgh, I think you've got to figure out what beats Pittsburgh. You can't sit there and say, all right, Chase is out, we're just going to go run the ball. Well, I can tell you from experience, running the ball on Pittsburgh's not easy. You can do it, but if you say that's all we're going to do, you got to stick with what's got you there. And they've got Higgins, Tyler Boyd's playing, I mean, as good as I've seen Tyler Boyd play. So I say keep getting the ball to those guys. And Hurst, I mean, Hurst was a great addition. People don't give him enough credit for the addition of what he was, but he really has stepped up. He's probably playing a little better than CJ was at this point last year. And we all know, how much CJ Uzomah brought to the offense last year.
You were around for so many of those years, and we talked about, Andy Dalton led the team to the playoffs, I think his first 5 seasons in the NFL, and what happened in the playoffs after that is not part of this conversation.
Thank you.
What I'm getting at is when you play the Steelers.
Yeah.
Is there a mental hurdle for a team that has been dominated by another team, even though the personnel, the players, coaches oftentimes change? Is there something that is a hurdle for a team like the Bengals to say to themselves, we're better than the Steelers, we have better players than the Steelers, and we're going to go beat the Steelers?
Yes, and I do believe that there is. And if they say there's not, I think they're probably trying to talk themselves out of it. But it was a little bit because we had lost so many games to them over the time. And I hate to say that there was a mental block, but we treated the Steeler week, a little differently. I mean, it was like, okay, it's Steelers week, which, honestly, if we would have just treated it as if it was Cleveland week, we might have been okay. But, it was one of those things where we were trying to prove to ourselves that we belonged. And that was a team in the division that obviously we needed to take down. And while I was there, we won the division twice, 13 and 15, made the playoffs those 5 years, but I'd be willing to bet if you look, I guarantee the record ain't great, but I think we might have beat Pittsburgh twice. I think once in Pittsburgh. And obviously, we lost the playoff game to them. And at that point, it was, it hurt. It hurt bad. And I think this team, when they changed coaches, a lot of the players weren't here for that. I think Huber and Clark Harris were the only ones here for that. Mm-hmm. And you look at, I think they look at them as they're just another team at this point. I know they understand the history, but I think at this point it's just, hey, it's another game. Let's go win the game.
What do you think of Kenny Pickett? Have you had a chance to watch him much? He's made, I think, 5 starts. One of them he got knocked out of with a concussion. Any thoughts on him, or even going back to his days at Pitt?
I think he was a really good player at Pitt. Obviously they brought him in to be the guy, and he gets happy feet back there a little bit. If you get some pressure on him, the Saints got 6 sacks on him, but 2 of those sacks, he got sacked by his own offensive lineman. He had one where he was kind of scrambling around, tripped over a guy, and he had another one where the tackle got pushed back and he was trying to step up and tripped. And so I think he's just not really feeling that comfort level in the pocket with his O-line just yet, especially when you get to him a few times. And I mean, that was 6 times he got sacked. That doesn't mean the other 4 or 5 times he got hit. So that's where, if you can get him rattled a little bit, I saw it towards the end of the game the other day where you could see a little bit of panic in him. But other than that, I mean, when he's just dropping back and playing, I thought he made some good throws. I mean, he's got all the talent you need. It's just, I think right now you can see the rookie coming out in him.
Hey, before we let you go, I see that sign in the background, the Caskey Family Foundation. Tell us a little bit about that. What is it?
All right, so we brought the Caskey family. We brought it into existence during the pandemic. We were living in Detroit, and if you've ever been up to Detroit, the Michigan area, Dearborn, those areas, a lot of the schools were underfunded, and you're asking kids to do virtual learning, but they don't have the tools to do it. They don't have surfaces. They don't have computers. They don't even, I mean, they're borrowing phones and they're calling in to do math, getting a math lesson literally over a voice call. And I don't see how you do that. So we started it up and we helped fund. We got 42 surfaces for a local school for their students to take home with them during the pandemic. And then we have turned around, and since we've left Detroit this past year, we did a school supply drive. We had donations come in. We took nominations of teachers who people thought were great teachers and could use some help supplying their classrooms with school supplies for this year. So we ended up helping over 40 teachers this year. Right now, since I'm out, we don't really have anybody like a team to kind of cling to, but once hopefully I can get back in, then we'll start back up and do some drives and try to help out local schools. It's based around education and just helping people that maybe don't have access to what they need to have access to it.
Well, Kyle, congratulations, and that's great stuff. And we're rooting for you to get back in there. Somebody to give you a shot again to get back in the National Football League or big-time college coaching, and we thank you for your time today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
All righty. Kyle Caskey, kind enough to join us, and that's the Caskey Family Foundation. And good for him and good for their family and the work they're doing to try to help young people. And you'd like to think this pandemic is fully behind us. Interesting guest. We got to have him back.
Yeah, we should. And we also, on the Chatterbox Sports YouTube, in the chat there, we put the link in for the Caskey Family Foundation. If anybody wants to
That's
check that out.
CaskeyFamilyFoundation.org.
Yep.
In case maybe you're listening later on a podcast form. So we wish him well in getting back into it. Coming up here in a matter of minutes, we're shifting gears to college basketball. And the big win last night for Casey's NKU's Fighting Norse. The Norsemen.
Leaf Ericsson's. Norse up.
Is that their nickname, just the Norse or the Norsemen?
The Norsemen.
Oh.
Well,
I mean, because what happens when they have it's a women's game?
I guess it is just Norse then. It is just the Norse.
It's your school.
I think they actually go Norsemen, like when they're talking about the men, and I don't know if they.
I think it's just the.
It's an old Viking term.
Norse. The Norse.
Where's Leaf? I haven't seen Leaf.
Leaf was in the chat
today.
Leaf's been in the chat.
I've not seen him.
Leaf's been an active participant today. Well, Leaf probably had a little too much mead last night, if we're being honest. Leaf probably went out on the town, pillaged a little bit, had some mead.
Really?
Yeah.
Leaf's that kind of guy?
Well, sure. Had himself.
I cannot find him anywhere on his chat. I'm scrolling all the way up, and there is no sign. Oh, there he is. He called Aaron Rodgers a bum. Says he could never make it in Scandinavia. That's his only input today.
Well,
it's pretty lame.
The chat doesn't go up far enough. After a while, the earlier chats disappear because there's only so many that can go in the chat at one time. But to open the show, Leaf had a great opening statement about NKU. I don't know if Leaf's still watching or not.
Sir Boy Wonder, Norse, exclamation point. I mean, is he trying to, brown nose everybody that has an alma mater on this show? Because, I give him credit. He's always talking up the Bobcats. But much like Casey, who shows up today in his fishing lid and his pullover with NKU on it, I've never heard Sir Boy Wonder talk up the Norse from NKU. Is he a friend of yours, Casey?
No, he's not a friend of mine. Well, I mean, he is a friend. Hang on. Let me back up. I don't know him.
Whoa!
I don't know him.
He's a friend of the program, I'll tell you that.
He's a great friend of the program. I misspoke. He is a good friend to me through this program, but I don't know him personally. What is your program, Sir Boy? What's your alma mater?
I think he's an Ohio State guy.
He's an Ohio State guy?
Yeah, he's a big-time Ohio State guy.
I think he's an Ohio State guy.
Big time. I think he goes to every game. I'm pretty sure he does.
Wait, you guys know Sir Boy?
No, but I've seen him on here or on Twitter where he's posted pictures from the stands at the Horseshoe in Columbus.
There's Leaf.
I'm sure there's Leaf. Tom, the Norse are for real. Okay. 6412 says brown nose. So we have the head coach, Darren Horn, coming up when?
Here very shortly.
Here in just a second.
Any minute now. I can't wait to have him on to talk about this game. He's an interesting guy. he apparently is a native of Tates Creek, Kentucky. He took over for John Brannon. And we know the John Brannon story. You know, he did a phenomenal job, took NKU to the NCAA tournament. Comes to UC. Things did not go well. He's now back coaching, I believe, as an assistant at Dayton now, correct?
He's on
staff sometimes.
Yeah, he has a role. He's not officially an assistant, but he has a role at Dayton.
But anyway, so Horn was a great player in high school, college, at Western Kentucky. Ends up becoming the head coach at Western Kentucky, where he had a really nice run, and then gets hired to go to South Carolina. And I got to tell you, there have been a lot of really good coaches that have tried to go down there and win. And, you know, they just redid their arena down there at South Carolina. But there's just something about some of those SEC schools in basketball. I mean, when you think about a conference like that and all the money they have, and I know it's all focused on football, but outside of Kentucky, Florida had a short run there. They've not been really very good for a long time in basketball. Billy Donovan had a great run at it there. But I just find it so strange because when I was a kid growing up, and I'm going to ask Darren about this in a minute after we talk about last night's game. But, you know, when I was a kid growing up, Georgia had some really good basketball teams. Alabama had Wimp Sanderson down there. They had some really good basketball teams. Vanderbilt, Kevin Stallings was down there. They had some good basketball teams. You know, Mississippi State, they'd have a good run from time to time. But as far as consistency goes, the only team in the SEC that you could even put as a better than average basketball power is obviously Kentucky. And I've always wondered why that is. With all the money they have down there. Paul, you're a big college basketball guy.
Yeah.
Why is the SEC not with the Big Ten or the Big East? Now, I know the Big East schools, in fairness. I mean, most of them, they don't have football teams. So I don't have to worry about spending a bunch of money on football.
Yeah.
But whether it's the ACC, whether it's even the Big 12, certainly the Big 10, why is the SEC so bad in basketball? They stink.
I mean,
they stink.
I don't really think they do. I really don't think they do. Look at Kentucky.
I said Kentucky. That's a given.
Arkansas, Eric Musselman. Alabama, Nate Oates.
Again, they've had a run here or there. I'm talking about over the long haul.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a football conference, but it's getting there. I mean, if you look at what Alabama at Auburn, they are elite based.
Yes, they are.
Getting the students involved,
Especially
getting the crowds there.
Yeah,
it's great.
Apparently, we're having a lot of streaming issues today. We're being accused by Sir Boy Wonder of this is a Marty Brennaman internet. Time to get Marty Brennaman to fix the internet. Don't know what's going on here today. There were a lot of power outages and that kind of thing up here yesterday. So we'll take a break. We're back with more.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we...
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time. And if you need a new unit, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
All right, welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We were talking about Darren Horn in his 4th year as head coach over at Northern Kentucky. 59 wins already, and he's just starting his 4th year. Twice in 3 years, he's won 20 or more games. And we mentioned earlier, a native of Tates Creek, Kentucky. He coached at his alma mater down there at Western Kentucky, as well as South Carolina, and now at NKU. Coach, congratulations. Big win last night. I think the easiest thing in the world for a lot of people to ask is that a surprise that you beat Cincinnati? But based on everybody I talked to who watched the game, says it was no surprise at all.
Yeah, you know what's interesting, Tom? I've been at this a long time, and been in a bunch of games like that on both sides, right? And sometimes when the lower level team wins, some guy goes off and gets 35, right? Or they hit 15 threes, or the other team's without the best player or whatever. Not the case at all last night. That was 2 college basketball teams with their best guys available. We didn't make many threes because they did a good job of taking them away. And if you watch it from start to finish and you know anything about the game, it was just 2 teams that were pretty evenly matched in terms of ability and how they were playing. And we just played exceptionally well, and we're fortunate to get the win.
I'm curious, Coach, when you go into a game like that, and look, I haven't seen UC play. I know the success you guys have had at NKU with Thom Brennaman and you taking over and how well you have done there. I don't know if your kids, you tell me, do your kids or did your kids feel like going into that game, we're not so sure how this one's going to go, or did you guys walk in there feeling like, hey, we got a good team. We're picked to finish right at the top of our conference, and we can play with anybody?
Yeah, no, I think our guys went into the game expecting to win, to be honest with you. I think it's a group that has a lot of confidence. They were recruited here to do different things. You touched on the history here in the program, the good job that John did when he was here, but there's still a lot left to be done. That's our first win over a high major, in program history. We still don't have a postseason tournament win in Northern Kentucky, so that there's a lot to be accomplished. All the guys in our program, Tom, were recruited to be a part of that. And so they kind of had that game circled on the calendar as an opportunity, to do something that's never been done here. And so we're really excited about it. And for me, it was interesting because I've been a part of some of those Cincinnati games in the early 2000s when I was at Marquette. My first year in coaching, I coached against Danny Fortson as an assistant at Western Kentucky, had some battles in the early 2000s. The Kenyon Martin team, Steve Logan. Now, this Cincinnati team is not that by any stretch, but, there's tremendous history there. You're talking about a top 20 program in college basketball history historically, and to get a win over as a school like that, for Northern Kentucky, and just I think our 8th year Division I is pretty significant.
Coach, you guys have done such an incredible amount there at NKU. As you just mentioned, just 8 years since you made the jump up to D1. I'm kind of curious, for the average guy out there who's a basketball fan, and look, in this market, if you will, right? I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You got UC, you got Xavier, you got a lot of University of Kentucky fans. You've got this whole kind of thing going on. As the guy running the program there, your goals incrementally are what?
Well, I think it starts with what happened last night, right? You want to create a great college basketball atmosphere. I mean, there's no – I don't know that you're going to get to, 200 tickets from sellout every game, but there's no reason we shouldn't have 6,000 or 7,000 people in our building every night. Being in games like we were in last night and winning some of those. We're in a neutral site tournament next week with some really high-level mid-majors, having a chance to win something like that. We've never dominated our league. I think maybe John had one regular season title or tied or something, but never dominated our league in a regular season with an outright title. There's a lot to be done here, I think, continuing to upgrade our talent level, and that's the thing that I was most pleased with last night as a coach looking long-term, is that I didn't see a ton of difference in talent on the floor between what UC had and what we had. And a lot of our guys are young, and including Sam Vincent, who's from right here in the area. And, he wasn't recruited by Cincinnati or Kentucky or Ohio State or anybody, and played like he wanted them to know.
Is that the kind of kid, Coach, at the end of the day, and I know you want to get to the point where you can walk in and say, hey, look, we've got – and you got a great arena, and we've got great fans. You got a great university, a budding university that's really blossoming through all these many decades now since the university first launched. Right now, you try to zero in on the kind of kid that is who?
Well, we want a guy that, we think, first of all, take Sam Vincent, for example. He's a local kid. We want as many local kids as we can. And we want a guy that when you turn on the game looks like he belongs in a game like last night. So, athletically, they got to have a certain baseline. But we want a guy that's got a chip on his shoulder, that's extremely competitive, and that we think has a high ceiling. The one thing that we think we do really well, Tom, I'm never going to claim to be John Wooden or be the guy that's going to win everything on the chalkboard or the clipboard at a timeout. But one thing our guys do, and we think we do it as well as anybody in college basketball, is our players get better. They really develop. We've got a long track record of that in my 13 years as a head coach, and so we want guys that we think have a tremendous upside. That as a junior, when you watch them, if you're in the NCAA tournament one day and you're winning a game, again, which is a goal of ours that hasn't happened here at this school, people are asking, man, where'd they get that guy from? And then all the schools that didn't recruit him, their fans are online saying, how do we pass on this guy? Why is he so good? Those are the kind of guys that we're looking for, and a big part of that is their competitive nature, and I think Sam's a great example of that.
I was told by some people, though, Coach, that have watched you, and look, I was one of the sixth-grade basketball coaches in the history of Cincinnati. I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but I was one of the all-time. But one of the things I love to watch, and I don't see it from everybody. I'm just curious, and I know you're going to be very humble about this, but guys that I talk to that have watched your teams play, and Paul was talking about this on the air a little while ago, is that when you're coming out of timeouts, whether it's, inbound the ball underneath your own basket, whether it's inbounding the ball, wherever it is the design plays on how you can get baskets. And I'm not going to say the other team's sleeping, but they're not I always used to think that Thad Matta was so good at those kinds of plays, drawing up, especially underneath his own basket. Is that something as a coach that through your years and experience, whether it was as an assistant at Tom Crean or some of these other guys where you've been, that some coaches pay attention to that maybe more than some others do?
Yeah, I think so. And I think a big part of that, Tom, is the NBA influence, right? And I probably got big on it when I was an assistant at Marquette with Tom Crean. We were there in Milwaukee with the Bucks and spent a lot of time with those guys, and it's such a big thing at that level. There's so many possessions, and it's so important to get your stars going. How can we get them the ball in the right position and against the coverage that we're seeing? And, it's funny. I was joking with our staff after the game last night, Tom. We had 3 situations last night out of timeouts that were brand new things we'd put in for this game that, if you execute them well and the ball goes in, what you're talking about happens and it looks great. And, wow, that guy really knows what he's doing. And if, the guys, screw it up or throw it off their foot or shoot a brick, it's nothing, right?
Right.
And last night we had 3 of those situations, and our guys did a phenomenal job of executing and getting baskets or getting fouled. And so some of it's that, but it is something that we do focus on and believe in very strongly just because, the game is hard now, man. Everybody can play. Coaches are spending a lot of time scouting and preparing. To score in the half court is difficult. So if you got a chance to get your team organized and try to take advantage of something, to get a key guy a basket, it's something that, or even just a shot attempt, it's something that we definitely focus on.
Well, Coach, we can't thank you enough for your time. We'd love to have you come back if you have the time. I know the season's a long one and a lot of late nights and early mornings and grinding stuff out. I've been down that road myself for a long time, and we just thank you and congratulations on a great win last night.
Well, thanks for having me on, Tom. And if you need me back on to do some SEC basketball education, all right?
You know what? No. Since you brought it up, I want you to answer me that question, okay? Because look, and Paul points out, you were down there at South Carolina. I took both my daughter and our son to visit down there. Beautiful place in Columbia, nice people, whole 9 yards. They got that beautiful new arena and the whole 9 yards, so it's a great venue. But I'm just curious, based on your experience, and I don't know if you can compare it, even though you were in Milwaukee, which is quote-unquote Big Ten country, if you will, up there. But I'm curious, do the SEC schools just pay so much more attention to football than basketball?
You know, I think a big part of it is part of it's the tradition, right? Sure, football at most of those places is more important and bigger. It's a cultural thing a little bit in the South. I think it's such a big event on Saturdays for football or Friday nights, even in high school. I think the other part of it, Tom, is that, everything that we do comes down to recruiting, period. What players can you get at the school that you're at? And a big part of that, if you look at the schools that have been successful, Kentucky's an outlier because Kentucky's Kentucky and they've recruited nationally for 50 years. But can you get the best players in your state to stay home? So you look at the schools that have had some runs or have had a little bit more consistency, and they've been able to do that. Those guys will stay home. They want to go there. The ones that have had some high points or a little longer runs, the Alabamas, the LSUs, Arkansas, Tennessee is probably one of the better basketball programs. Those schools are able to do that and able to keep those guys. And so that's a big part of it. There's a ton of money now. Coaches are getting paid. There's resources to run your program. But, that interest from the recruits and being able to get the best players, at the end of the day, we're all only as good as our players. And so I think that's a big part of it. And that landscape is continually changing now in college basketball, right, with the NIL and the transfer portal. And so that's something that's going to be really interesting to navigate. And I think that's going to be a challenge moving forward for all the schools in our area specifically.
Well, that brings up the one point I was going to ask you, and I didn't want to take too much of your time. But you hear so much about the NIL and the transfer portal, and maybe it's just because it's this time of the year with football, right? But with basketball, what is the? It was said that the rich are only going to get richer. And again, I'm just hearkening back to football, but I'm sure you could say the same thing about basketball, whether you're talking about North Carolina or Kentucky or Duke or UCLA, whoever you want to talk about. For a school that's building what you're building at NKU, is NIL, I'm going to separate these two, is NIL a plus or a minus for you guys?
Well, I think it's a plus for us, right? Because, if a kid's going to, with the transfer portal and them not having to sit out, if they're going to leave because they just want to be at a higher level, then, they're going to leave, right? We had a terrific player who's a two-time champion here, Jalen Tate, three-time champion actually, who at the end of with no NIL, at the end of his senior year, he had a fifth year. He just wanted to try to go play at the highest level. He just wanted to be at one of those schools and kind of see what he could do. Went to Arkansas and did really well. And so I think that's always been the case if you're at a mid-major school. Where I think it's helpful is, our guys are involved in it. There's some stuff happening here for I think there to be more opportunities for our guys. And I think what you get, Tom, is like, of course there's going to be, and I don't know what these numbers are. And again, coaches aren't involved in it at all, but, some school, and it's not supposed to be pay for play, but it seems like maybe that's how it's happening at the higher level.
Yep.
That, if it's made obvious to a kid that, there's a certain number that, it really looks like he might have an opportunity to earn, then, yeah, we're probably not going to meet that number. But if we can do something for our guys and they're having a great experience here and they're getting better, then I think it's a positive for us. And in general, I'm in favor of players, having the freedom to pick the right school and to earn on their name, image, and likeness. I just hope we haven't gotten too far ahead of ourselves and these guys are jumping ship and chasing some pennies that in the long term it's not best for them and transferring out. A stat that people aren't talking enough about is last year over half the kids, and it was over 1,000 that went into the portal, ended up without a Division I scholarship this fall. And that's not good, because at the end of the day, though, we're becoming semi-pro, which is fine. We're still in the business of helping young people and trying to educate some kids. And so you hate to see that, especially with, the demographic that's affected by it the most.
So if I heard you right, because I've never heard anybody say this before, are you saying that there were 1,000 kids last year that were on some kind of scholarship wherever it was they were. They decide to leave to go into the transfer portal, and half of those players don't get any money to go somewhere else. Is that right, or did I misunderstand you?
Yeah, no, and my numbers might be a little off.
Okay, but
it's
close.
Pushing 50, in terms of totals, but it's pushing 50% of kids that just don't get scholarships. So, you're talking about guys that leave, for the most part, probably low to mid majors, I would say. Again, I don't have all the statistical information on it, but there's a lot of guys that don't get picked up. Grass isn't always greener, and going through this process and maturing as a young person and, learning to deal with some adversity and those kind of things is still part of what we do. That is the one thing that still separates us a little bit from being fully professional, right? There's an academic component, and we still are in the business of trying to do that. And again, I'm in favor of all the other. I think it's great. But that's not a good thing. And so hopefully that'll kind of come back down. Right. And the other thing that's going to be really interesting, and we won't deal with this at our level as much in terms of total numbers, but some of the numbers you hear getting thrown around, probably if you're Ohio State for sure, and probably if you're Xavier or Cincinnati, Tom, they're significant. They're significant. And, what about performance? What about then if that kid wants to leave? I'm just not sure how the people that are involved in these, collectives and NIL situations are going to feel about it. They've helped get a kid to a school or, helped with his NIL, and all of a sudden, he's not there anymore. He doesn't play very well. It's a different dynamic that's going on. So I don't know how long it takes that to play out. Is it 3 years? Is it 5 or 7? I don't know, but I think there's going to be some settling effect, if that makes sense. With all of this. But I think for us, it's a good thing because we're a building, growing program that, if you can go to Kentucky and they're telling you, hey, we feel like you can get what Oscar Sheway's getting. Yeah, I might kick him out the door, Tom. I might kick him out the door and say, take that opportunity, man. Appreciate what you've done for us. Because the other thing about it is, keep this in mind, nobody wants you at that level if you haven't been successful here.
Yeah.
And so, if we're in the business of believing that we help young people improve and get better and try to make them successful, we're not going to take an opportunity from them. So all in all, I think it could be a positive for us and something we're excited about. And we were fortunate that we kept our best guys this year, and we'll hope that it happens again. And if we don't, you know what, we'll have to go get another one.
Coach, thank you for your time. This has been great. NKU's in good hands with you at the helm over there. All the best to you.
Well, anytime, Tom. Appreciate being on, and love to come back some other time, talk college basketball in general if you want. They paid me to do that for a few years when I was out.
I know they did. I can tell. I mean, you belong right up there on the set. Man. I mean, hell, you ought to come in here. I mean, there are people that want to run me out of here. The guys that are working with me accused me of being an ex-professional the other day. So, I mean, it is what it is, right?
I've been accused of the same, brother.
Yeah, I got it. Coach, good luck to you. Thank you for your time.
All right, thanks a lot.
What a great dude. He's the best. God, what a great guy. And, I mean, obviously he can coach. And, I mean, if you're an NKU basketball fan, there's a lot to be excited. Not just beating UC last night, but the Norse.
Norse up, baby.
I'm a Norse guy moving forward after having him on. We try to get all these highfalutin guys on, from these big programs, right? Swing and a miss. Swing and a miss. Brandon Seho, you were the one who touched base with their guys at NKU last night after a big win. I mean, Darren Horn's got other things to do. Obviously, the other coaches have other things to do.
Great guy.
Great guy. Congratulations, Darren Horn and the NKU Norse. The Tracer is around the corner.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time, and if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
Long time ago. You guys really like to hit me here, don't you? Talk about the past. I don't like to talk about.
Why would the Ham and Eggers do that to Tracy Jones?
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, here's some memories for you.
There they are, Tracer.
There they are.
Oh,
look at that shot on the left. That's a knock, no doubt. That's a knock.
That's a ground ball to shortstop. Make a right turn back to the dugout. I rolled over on that pitch. I remember.
For the audience, like, it's not exactly a set in stone, like this is what they're going to be the whole year. Teams move up and down based off of how they perform, right?
Oh, if there's one thing we know about the stink list, it is that it is a fluid situation.
It is a fluid situation.
Very reactionary.
And if
next time
who is that Trace guy?
What?
Who is that Trace guy? He's like a legend. We're scared of this guy on Twitter.
Trace
Have you
Fowler,
heard about him?
Our boss?
He's the boss around here, Zim.
Hey, this guy has come into our Twitter community and scared the living daylights out of everybody that's in there.
Great stuff from Zim Houday. We'll be hearing from him after Sunday's game. Bengals v. Steelers in Pittsburgh. Well, every Tuesday and Thursday, we shift gears, the best 30 minutes of television, twice a week. I mean, this is getting bigger numbers in Yellowstone.
Yes, we wish.
Return of Yellowstone, the Tracer. You know what? You could have been a Yellowstone kind of a man, don't you think? You could have been out there on the prairie.
I like that stuff. I like to ride horses. I like to wear cowboy boots. Danae's a big cowgirl, too. She likes that. So, yeah,
really?
I could. Yes, my one girlfriend, remember my one girlfriend from Oregon?
Yes.
Her nickname was the Heifer. Remember her, big girl? She was really into the whole farming and cattle raising and haying, if you know what that is, Tom. I know you don't know what that is, but I would do it. It's so cool there. Is it in Wyoming? No, it's not in Wyoming.
It's in Montana. It's in Montana. I have only seen you in flip-flops. I can't imagine, or a pair of, like those slip-on surfer kind of Southern California attire, that kind of thing. When I've seen you socially from time to time, I just can't see you out on the prairie. I mean, I don't think I can.
You know what I do, and I have a couple of them. I have a couple of cowboy hats. See, instead of my hat on backwards, I'd have my cowboy hat. I'm all about that. In fact, I might be going to a dude ranch here in about, I think, 6 months. Now, honestly, riding horses and doing things like that, I'm all about that.
I've done that myself a number of times.
You fish at all?
You know what? I like fly fishing. My wife is a really good fly fisher person, or a fisher woman, or whatever you say. She grew up in Arizona, but her family would do a lot of that. And when we first started dating and we were living in Arizona, she kind of got me into it. I'm not any good at it, but I really like
it's a real
doing
skill.
it. Yeah, it really is.
It's a
great skill. And it's fun. It's very peaceful. And so I've been out to Montana and Colorado to go fly fishing. Are you a fly fisher?
I'm not, but I know that takes a lot of skill. I like to go fishing. You know what I'm not? I'm not a hunter. Like, I like to shoot guns, but believe it or not, I could not kill anything.
I couldn't either.
I'm a big animal lover.
Yep.
I couldn't shoot and kill someone. Something, I should say, not someone.
Hey, we've got a question. We've got a question real quick. Reds Fest is coming back this year. Are you a regular at Reds Fest? Are you going this year? Do you get invited to that?
You know what's funny? Funny you should bring that up. This is the third straight year I have not been invited. Tom, people come to see me at Reds Fest. I'm actually more popular than a lot of those players they have.
No doubt.
But yeah, the last 3 years have not been invited to Reds Fest. And the first 2 years they had Reds Fest, I was not invited to Reds Fest. So I don't know if there's someone in the organization that doesn't like me. I mean, I can probably guess. But yeah, I kind of take it a little personal. It's kind of insulting. It really is.
Well, now, do you think might, and that's been a number of years ago since you used to do extra innings, and correct me if I'm wrong,
right.
when you were doing extra innings on WLW before you moved into the afternoon drive time spot, they had some pretty good teams. So you weren't sitting up there beating them up all the time, right? Or am I wrong about that?
You would be wrong.
Oh, okay.
No, remember, if the team's winning, you don't get the calls. If you criticize the team and kind of stir the pot, which I'm pretty good at doing, then you get more interest. And then the show always ventured off into some crazy stuff instead of talking about the game. So I got in trouble at times about not talking about the Reds and talking about my personal life and talking about Richard from Indian Hill and Rod from Norwood and Brandy, my girlfriend on the side, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I just don't think you could talk 3 hours about a baseball team. I mean, what the hell kind of radio is that?
You've probably lost touch, though, I would imagine, with those guys. Richard and who is it from Norwood? Rod?
Rod from Norwood. He had that.
Have you lost touch with those guys, or did you stay in touch with those guys?
No, I stay in touch with all those guys. Richard from Indian Hill just got a new car and new Mercedes. Very nice. And, I stay in touch with those guys. Rod from Norwood's kicking ass. He's fixing lawnmowers, doing that. He's getting ready for Christmas. He's got the Norwood spruce in his basement that he gets going and plants. And he's going to actually sell Christmas. Yes, and he's going to sell the Norwood spruce is what he calls it. Rod's from Norwood, and he's going to sell those Christmas trees at his house, I think starting after Thanksgiving.
Well, you know what? Just for you giving him some pub, I'm going to go buy my Christmas tree from him this year.
Yeah, they're really, really strong Christmas trees. They're really, really nice. Can I tell you a story, something that happened to me that I think you would be interested in? And the ham and eggers probably would have no idea what the hell I'm talking about.
Of course.
Yeah, they had no idea. Yesterday, I'm walking in Sarasota. I like to, just kind of clear my head, walk in Sarasota.
You talking downtown Sarasota? Wait, I don't want to interrupt, but I just want to paint the picture here. Are you talking in the city or are you talking on the beach?
It's in the city. It's in the city.
I know downtown Sarasota quite well. Okay. Okay.
I'm sure you do. That's where a lot of big-time people live. So I'm walking Sarasota, and I'm just thinking about memories. You know what I mean? Just my life and how lucky I am. So I'm just walking, and I come across these fields, baseball fields. And you know the type, Tom, where there's about a backstop, about 8 fields, right? You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting, and I've been thinking about my dad who just recently passed away. Sad. And I was thinking about my dad and just my whole life. And I came across these baseball fields completely empty. Completely empty. And I thought, boy, how sad is that? I turned the corner, and there was a Little League team, not a select team, a Little League team out there practicing, Tom. And I thought, how cool is that? And the kids weren't standing around. They had like 4 coaches working all the kids, kind of doing stations. Kids were moving. They weren't kids picking dandelions. It was just such great memories because I can remember as a kid, we couldn't find fields to practice on. I mean, it was that scarce. And here, all these fields, not a single kid. And then all of a sudden I turn this corner and here's this team practicing. It was just, I don't know, maybe I'm being too corny here, but I just thought, talk about memories. And I thought that was really, really neat.
It's interesting you bring that up, and I don't think there's anything corny about it at all, because I think the Colorado Rockies were the first team to start doing this, where, their big charitable arm of the Rockies organization involved going in and refurbishing fields in neglected areas of town. A lot of inner city, some of the nicer suburbs, but more the cities and some of the more underserved suburb areas. And, of course, the Reds have done the same thing. I think a lot of Major League Baseball teams have done this. And, Tracy, I got to tell you, most of the time when I'm driving around greater Cincinnati through some of these areas, those baseball fields will have, Joe Blow Field after some former player, or, Rick Smith, some former player, and not a soul to be found. Now, you're not going to see it in the dead of winter in Cincinnati, obviously, but I'm talking about right in the middle of summer, maybe late in the afternoon. Kids aren't in school, could be out practicing baseball. I just don't see it.
Well, I don't understand what has changed. I just kind of shake my head because you know how much I love the game of baseball.
Yep.
And I went over and introduced myself to the team.
Well, they knew who you were.
Well, the kids didn't, of course, Tom, but of course the dads did. I signed the autographs. Charged the kids only $2.50. It's regular $5. So I gave them a discount and just told them what a great job they were doing with those kids. And I think of my dad because that was such an important part of our lives. I mean, those Saturday and Sunday games were everything. Tom, we had 20 baseball teams, 2 sides of the field. One side I didn't even know 10 of the teams, believe it or not. And then we had 10 that we played that I was in the division. There were so many good kids. We had 3 first-round draft picks out of that. I'll tell you who were some pretty good ball players. Of course, myself, Mike Scott, Tracy Jones, just to name a few. I mean, those are some pretty good ball players. A guy by the name of Greg Staffen, who went 22nd player picked in the country. Mike Colburn, who went to the White Sox, like 17th pick. I mean, and this is a 1 mile by 1 mile stretch, and it was that many kids. It was during the baby boomers, a lot of kids. It was just such great memories. But when I saw those kids out there practicing, and my tip to the hat to the coaches, because they were keeping the kids moving.
Yep.
And Tom, I know you coach your kid, right?
Yep.
You got to keep the kids. You don't want them standing around.
No
and those
doubt.
kids, those coaches were doing a great job.
Yeah, you got to keep them moving. There's no doubt about it. You know, it's interesting. I don't know. I'm sure you're very, very busy, even though you're still down there in Florida. You're still very busy with your very successful money management operation, that empire, and, of course, having to make sure that all the units, rental units you have in and around greater Cincinnati are staying in line. And that kind of thing. We had Dusty Baker yesterday on the air for about 50 minutes. Incredible conversation with him, so gracious for his time and with his time yesterday. But, he was talking about his dad, like you're talking about your dad, and my son will be able to say about me, thank God, one day, because all of us had the time to do it. They had the time to do it, wanted to do it, coach our kids, be involved. A lot of dads aren't able to do that because they're working hard. But, Dusty talked about his dad actually threw him off the team or suspended him from the team when he was 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old, at different points in time for temper tantrums, getting angry. Did you ever have anything like that with your dad?
You better believe it. You better believe it. And my dad was so tough on me. I one time got straight A's. I know it's hard for you people to believe that I'd actually get straight A's on a report card in the 7th grade. Didn't even say good job, right? But if I go 0 for 4, there's a huge problem. I mean, baseball was everything. I'll tell you a story. We were beating a team 11-0, and my little brother Terry played on my team. Everybody had a hit except for me. So I took a ball at shortstop and threw it that my brother should have caught. He didn't catch it. And I started yelling at him on the field. My dad came and got me and told me, get your stuff, you're out. And I walked home. And that's a true story. And then I actually got the belt. I know people don't. I did. I got the belt for yelling at my brother, making a fool of myself. But he sent me right there. He didn't even wait. And my dad was about as tough as you can imagine. I mean, he was tough on all the kids. Never complimented me. Never said, Trace, I'm proud of you that you played in the big leagues. Now, I know he was proud of me, but he never said. I one time went 4 for 5 against USC. Remember the Trojans, right?
Yeah.
He said, what happened that last at bat? Were you afraid of success? I was like, Dad, I went 4 for 5. He says, well, you can go 5 for 5. There's nothing against that. But that's how he was. He was always dwelling on the negative and not very positive. And that's just the way he was.
No, but I got to ask you, because I am a big proponent when I coached basketball, both boys and girls, and I know I joke around a lot about this, but my style was more the, sort of Bob Huggins, Krzyzewski kind of style, getting on, even kids, and not to a certain level. But I got to tell you, and I think that the kids are undercoached now. As far as some of that tough love is concerned. And we'll get to that topic in a minute. But I got to tell you, Tracer, in all seriousness, it makes me a little sad to hear you tell me that story that you weren't complimented more. There's a fine line there, but it does. I mean, yeah. I think it's a little bit sad, and I'm being totally serious. There's no joking about any of this. Do you? I mean, is there a part of you that feels a little bit that way?
A little bit. And I did talk to my dad about it toward the end of his life. And he was just tough. Man, he never told me he loved me, but I knew he loved me. He's hardcore. I mean, that's why I'm kind of hardcore. I grew up in a different era. I never got, I was never given anything. I think that's why I appreciate so much that I have now, because we grew up poor. I mean, we were 6 people in a 1,200 square foot home, with popcorn ceilings and paneling. Yep. Our vacation was one day we went to Disneyland, and that was it. All we did was play ball. I mean, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player, and I'll never forget my dad telling me this. My dad worked at Chevron, Standard Oil refinery there in El Segundo, and it was Christmas Eve, and he got his lunch pail. And I says, Dad, where are you going? He says, Trace, I'm going to work. I got to work. I says, Dad, but it's Christmas Eve. He says, I got to make a living. He says, Trace, let me tell you something. Playing in the major leagues beats carrying a lunch pail to work. I'll leave you with that, and walked out. And boy, it hit hard. And that was like I was 10, 11 years old. Tom, I wasn't very good at that age. I mean, I was the littlest guy in my little league. I kind of have a small man's complex because I got bigger and I got that hard, tough attitude. And my dad just ingrained that. I mean, whether it was football or basketball, he was tough. And my mom was tough. My mom was a great athlete. I one time gave up a grand slam and 8 runs in the first inning pitching in high school. And my mom called me over after the game and goes, what the hell was that? There was, in my family, there was no Mutt and Jeff. They were both Mutts. I mean, and I love my parents. And I think they built a character that I have because I'm a hard worker, but there was no patting you on the back at all.
All right, what lessons now, let's carry that forward. Because oftentimes, and I'm not putting you on the Freudian couch here, But right. What lessons moving forward then did you take with Hunter, your son, who played professional baseball?
Well, Well, let me tell you something about kids nowadays. You can't really get on their ass.
Yes,
They'll
you
shut
can.
down.
That is nonsense. That's nonsense. But anyway, we're talking about you and Hunter.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was complimentary, but I was tough because I could watch his games every night. I did it for 10 years, right? Because I'd get the minor league package, and I would sit there on my 70-inch TV and watch every single pitch and every single at-bat. I mean, you want to know something that's painful, because baseball, you fail 70% of the time. So I would call him after the game. I says, you know he's going to start you off with a fastball, because Danae would watch the games with me, and she'd say, how do you know what pitch is coming? I said, because I've been doing it my whole life.
Right.
And just things that I would see. And it was tough for Hunter. I mean, he made it to AAA, made it to big league camp and everything. Just couldn't get over that button. Very proud of him. But I was kind of tough like my dad too. And it really caused a strain with Hunter. But now we're really, really tight. But I just couldn't help but be critical. If I saw something, I had to say something. And I don't think your dad does that with you, right? Because same thing. I mean, you're talking about me in baseball. I don't think your dad's one to be critical of your play-by-play. No? Yes?
No. But I mean, I think with him, it was more of a case. I think, it's more of a case where he would have something to say if I asked him. Let's put it that way, right? So if I said to him, hey, what'd you think of the football game yesterday? And I know he'd watch it if I was doing the 49ers and the Packers, pick two teams, doesn't matter. But well, I might have done it this way, might have done it. No, but but my folks were hard on me, and I'm hard on my kids. I mean, they're the first to tell you. I mean, I'm hard on them. You got to demand excellence. And at the end of the day, you have to demand. It doesn't mean you have to go 4 for 4 as a baseball player. My son, who's a Ohio Player of the Year in lacrosse last year as a goalie, doesn't mean he's got to pitch a shutout every single game that he's playing in the goal, because in that sport, it's unreasonable and it's impossible. Guys are shooting 90 miles an hour from me to this wall, 12 feet away. It's not going to happen. But you got to demand excellence, and the excellence part is being ready to go. Get ready to get ready to get ready, as I say to him all the time. It's time to get ready to get ready to get ready.
I wanted to ask you, do you ever get jealous of the relationship I have with your dad? I mean, just how well he treats me. I mean, he's told me, he says, you're the Major League Baseball player I never had as a son. I mean, he's somewhat proud of you, Tom, but he's really he loves me, doesn't he, Marty?
He does. He brought up your name yesterday. In fact, he told me that he's laying in the weeds for you about a couple of things that have to do with this show.
What is it?
That's you and him. That's your relationship. But
yeah,
ham and eggers today. You haven't had anything to say to Tracy. We've learned a little bit about Tracy, a lot about Tracy here today.
Yeah,
we've seen the soft side, if you will, of Tracy Jones today.
Yeah.
Casey? Yeah, I mean.
You feel bad for me?
Yeah, we should throw a pity party for you, Tracy.
I got something. Can I touch on something? Paulie, did you get those tickets for your girlfriend?
Ah, yes.
Yes, we resolved the issue, Tracy. I waited in the Ticketmaster line for 5 hours, but it came through. I got them.
Well, I've seen Taylor Swift. I saw her with Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. She was the warm-up for them. Very good. I like her. But here's what I'm going to tell you, Paulie, and I'm going to give you some really good advice here, okay?
Okay.
When I went to Taylor Swift, there were a lot of good-looking girls in the audience.
Yes.
Now, what you need to do is maybe get some phone numbers. When you take your girlfriend there, you got to get her something to drink, right? Go and kind of make your rounds, and I guarantee you'll pick up at least 5 phone numbers. So in case anything happens with your girlfriend, you've got those 5 numbers. I used to do it all the time when I went to Linda Ronstadt. Remember Linda Ronstadt, Tom?
Yeah, married to Jerry Brown. Married to Jerry Brown, former governor of California.
I'll tell you who I was really hot on. Karen Carpenter. Remember Karen Carpenter?
Very well. Sadly passed away. Her and her brother Richard. Beautiful music they wrote together.
Yeah. But, Paulie, just get some numbers. It's a great backup plan. I used to do it all the time.
Did you have those pieces of paper, Tracy, just kind of fall out of your pocket when you came home later in the night, just in case, Danae stumbled on them or
the heifer?
Taylor Swift wasn't around when you were hanging with the heifer.
No, she
wasn't even born yet.
She's pretty good, though. We're talking about concerts. The 3 worst concerts I've ever been to. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Bon Jovi.
I believe that.
Kiss.
I saw Kiss. They were good, but go ahead.
Yeah. And that tired-ass act, Jimmy Buffett. That guy is tired. Those are the worst concerts I've ever been to.
Jimmy Buffett?
I know you like Jimmy Buffett,
I
don't you?
love Jimmy Buffett. How I have never heard anybody describe. I've heard people that don't like his music. That's fine. But I've never heard anyone who saw him or went to one of his concerts that described him as tired.
Are you a parrot head?
In my youth I was, and I still love listening to him every now and again. I really enjoy it. He used to play after every single AAA game when I was in AAA. And Paul O'Neill loved Jimmy Buffett. So we'd go play in Denver, and Jimmy Buffett played. Then we'd go to Oklahoma City. We'd go to Louisville. Jimmy Buffett's playing. And finally, I said, Paul says, we're going to watch I says, Paul, I've seen him 8 times. I said, I'm going to go try to pick up on this waitress there at the coffee shop. I'll get to you later. It was like, God, I can't stand that. Jimmy Buffett's the worst. And then Bon Jovi with the jazz hands. He's walking around like this the whole time with jazz hands. Tired. Jazz hands? Some guy said, I saw Richard from Indian Hill and Tracy roll up at Jeff Ruby's a few weeks back. What is a Bugatti? Is that a car?
A Bugatti?
Oh,
yeah, that's kind of like his Friday, Saturday car. That's like $450,000 his Bugatti. It's nice. It's green, kind of flashy. Very cool car, though.
Is that like in the neighborhood of a Maserati or something?
Bugatti's like one of the nicest car brands in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, see, that's over my pay scale. I mean, that's like me looking at, something from, I don't know, Saks Fifth Avenue, a shirt. It's out of my pay scale, so why pay attention to it?
Richard has an Aston Martin.
Yeah, and I know what that is.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what kind of great guy he is. He's just a really giving person.
Giving in what regard?
Like he paid for Ruby's, paid for the entire dinner, which I thought was nice.
Have you been to the new Ruby's?
No, I haven't. Okay. You know what I don't like? I don't like paying extra. I don't like paying a la carte. Do you know what I'm trying to say? For
I know what
the
you're saying.
potato, for the salad.
Yeah.
Like at the precinct, you get those ham and eggers right there. Those JOs have no idea what they're.
Whoa. Hold on a second.
They are more used to Outback, where you get it all for one price, right?
I was thinking more Ponderosa.
Okay, well that's basically Outback.
Or Golden Corral.
Right.
Sounds like you were kind of giving a little slight to the Bloomin' Onion there, Tom.
I love that food. You're not getting it. Look, I don't look down my nose on any of that stuff. Not a chance. But go ahead. You were saying, Paul?
No, I was just saying, the Jeff Ruby's, you go down to the precinct there, you get yourself a nice little salad. Those salads there,
they're big time.
Best in the city.
No doubt.
I like the Freddy salad a lot. I like
Freddy's the best.
Yep. Casey, maybe you ought to think about taking your bride to be down there one night.
Yeah, I have not gone to Jeff Ruby's, but I've been to like Golden Lamb, which is
very nice. Rob Portman's family owns a Golden
Lamb.
No.
No. Golden Lamb was bad. That in Lebanon, I've been there. I was very disappointed in the Golden Lamb.
Really?
No, I'm serious.
What did you have?
That place is overrated.
What did you have?
I had this. First of all, when they bring you a cup of salad dressing in a plastic cup, I thought was a little weak, and I didn't like the steak. I thought it was extremely over. That's where presidents have eaten, right?
Yeah, well, Rob Portman's family has owned that since the beginning of time. I don't know if you knew that or not. The departing senator from Ohio.
Right.
His family's owned that forever. Any last words, guys, ham and eggers, for Mr. Jones before we let him go? He's got a busy day ahead, I'm sure.
Well,
Paulie, I have something for you. Paulie, I have something for you.
Oh, okay. I'm listening, Tracy.
No, Casey, I have something for you. This is more important. I already gave you advice. Go to the Taylor Swift and get a bunch of phone numbers. But Casey, have you mailed your invitations to your wedding? Please do this to me. Now, I'm serious now. Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Are you listening?
Yes.
Okay. Put on there, no children. Tom, you would agree with that, right?
Yes.
We don't need children dancing, wasting food.
Tracy,
I don't want to be partying. With a bunch of children. Okay.
Tracy,
so please.
You have no idea how much that means to me, because I want there to be no children at my wedding.
No children.
Period. We have my side of the family, we only have 2 kids, and they're like 4 and like not even 1 yet. So that I can understand. But we have on the other side of my family children between the ages of 13 to all the way down to infants, right? No. And that they can just be terrors, just little terrors. No. And I swear, if I see any of them running around during the ceremony, there will be hell to pay. There will be hell.
Oh, boy. Well, we've opened a whole can of worms here now.
I know. But, Tom, you agree, right? Tom, you agree.
At the wedding itself, I don't have a problem. The wedding itself, I don't have a problem. The reception, a little bit different ballgame.
Right.
You agree with that?
I agree 100%. Okay. Kids don't need to be at a reception. Right. We don't need to see them on the dance floor. The only people that give a rat's ass are the parents. Their parents.
Yeah, especially with an open bar.
Yeah, you need just a big punch bowl, and just people can, because you are having potluck, right? Okay, so we talked about that.
Yeah, and I actually found the right dollar store around here in Hamilton, the Dollar Tree. It's just right up the road from here.
Yeah, I saw it today.
Yeah, and yeah.
Did you say you're going to have chicken parmesan? See, I have a memory like an elephant. Did you say you're going to serve chicken parmesan?
Yeah.
Really?
What's wrong with that?
Isn't that a little sloppy? Tom, chicken parmesan.
I love chicken parm. I love it.
I love it too, but not at a wedding.
Jolly says if he were a betting man, that Tracy Jones would be big on the song or be big on the dance, the electric slide guy at weddings. Is there any truth to that?
I got bad knees.
Okay.
I got bad knees.
You do the Macarena, a little less stress on the knees, the Macarena?
No, but is there anything better than the Bee Gees? Stand Alive?
No, nothing better.
First time I ever pulled wool.
Oh, my God.
Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Fever, excuse me. Tom, you're diving into stuff.
Okay. All right. Tracer, we'll see you on Tuesday.
All right. I still have a job?
You're in, man. You're in for a lifetime. You got a lifetime contract right here on Off the Bench.
All right, boys. Have a good weekend.
All right. You too.
See you, Tracy. See you, Tracy.
Good Lord. Oh, man. I thought we had made it through.
No, you never make it through.
Thought we had made it through.
Do you want to make it through?
He's a big fan of both of you guys. I mean, he's paying attention. That's what I love about Tracy, among many things, is he does listen. He does pay attention. I mean, that came out of nowhere, the chicken parm thing.
Yeah,
you just briefly blew through that last week.
He listens to the details.
He does. Very detailed guy. That's why he's so successful. We thank all the guys from Jolly, Sir Boy Wonder, Boom Shakalaka. He wants to know, when are the invitations going out, by the way?
They should be. We have the save the dates sent out, but we don't have invitations yet. So that should be coming up shortly. I mean, it's usually send them out 3 months or 4 months in advance before the wedding, around that, the invitations themselves. So
okay.
June 3rd is so it's going to be like March or February, probably around that time when we send them out.
Okay. We thank Anonymous, who wants to remain anonymous. David, 6412 Mars. U.S. veteran retired. We always salute you and thank you for your service and all those. Blackmore wanted to know, do you smoke those Norwood spruces or do you decorate them? All right, do we have a cherry on top presented by UDF today or no?
We do. Yeah. So this was tweeted from the Bengals Twitter, one of the best guys on Bengals Twitter, Joe Goodberry. Buffalo obviously predicted to get 3 to 6 feet of snow.
Yeah, you believe that, and that's not a mistake. You didn't mean 3 to 6 inches.
No,
we're talking 3 to 6 feet of snow.
So Joe Goodberry tweets out earlier, starting Devin Singletary for this game in fantasy. He's only 5'7", and they'll never see him in 6 feet of snow. Consider flexing Naheem Hines at 5'8" and Isaiah McKenzie at 5'8".
That's funny. That's funny. You know, one of you guys said it earlier. Casey, might have been you. That's Cleveland playing up there this weekend. Yeah. That's that lake snow effect that you see on the lake. The east side of Cleveland runs all the way up into western New York and Buffalo. You know, look, if you've got to play the Buffalo Bills, right? Let's not forget that game. Was it last year when New England did not complete a pass in the game?
Yeah, that was severe winds, though, right?
Right, but I'm just saying, bad weather. If you've got to play a team, and I know Buffalo, their quarterback can run it, you know, but they're not a great running team. Cleveland's a good running team. That could be, you know, normally you'd say that's going to be kicking tail and taking names. That might be right up Cleveland's alley.
Yeah, I think so. It's a good game script for them. The weather's going to be bad.
Going to be bad. All right, we thank all of you, the hundreds if not thousands, that were with us here today on the program. Any final words of wisdom? No, we're good. Missed you at lunch last week, Tom. Boom shakalaka. Who's that?
Oh, yeah, we ran into Boom Shakalaka at lunch last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Here in Hamilton?
Yeah, we went to lunch after the show.
Bird.
Nice. Okay.
Great guy.
All right, we thank all of you. Tomorrow, big day. Dan Horn will be on the program to talk about UC getting down. They're playing Temple this weekend. Should be a win. Setting up the big one next week against Tulane. If they win that game, they'll play in the American Conference Championship for what would be, a fourth year in a row and fifth year in a row. And we'll also do our picks tomorrow. We got some big-time games this week.
Yes, we do.
And from here the rest of the way, just these last 2 weeks, we are really going to focus in on the teams that are – we're going to pick all the games involving the primary players in the college football playoff rankings. I know we like to do a lot of local games, and we'll still do UC. But, I mean, you know, we really got to focus on Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, and Tennessee. Outside looking in, LSU. And then the pro games, we got some good ones this weekend. Good games this weekend.
Not too picky right after this.
By the way, real quick. That's coming up next?
Right next.
All right, real quick. What's the spread on tonight's game?
3.5 for the Packers. Packers by 3.5.
Packers favored by 3.5. We know about all the injuries. Real quick, fellas, who you taking in that one? I know who you're picking, Casey.
I'm taking the Packers.
Of course you are.
I'm also taking the Packers.
I'm taking the Titans.
Okay.
That's not part of our picks for the week.
No.
But just have a little fun with it tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
All right. Fellas, enjoy. Great job. Thank you. Brandon, thank you for lining up Coach Horn for us today. And we thank all of you for watching. We're back here at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Have a great Thursday.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time, and if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
turn when you're in pain. Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
Welcome. Oh, Casey, I can't hear myself. I know I'm live.
Woo, baby.
There we are. Hot start today.
Heck yes.
Thursday, November
Woo!
17th, 2022. Paul Fritchner here. Reed Mouse to my left. Casey McAllister is over at the desk. Again, this is not too picky, and it is great to be with you. Not the best slate of college football and college basketball this weekend. For college basketball, that's because most of the big teams are getting ready to go to their big exempt events next week. Maui, the PK 85, that's next week. I'll be there in Portland next week. That's
Big timer.
That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. Charleston, there's a game going on right now. I can't believe it. I didn't realize it. Complete oversight on my part. And I feel like I feel like a piece of me, Reed, died inside.
Because you didn't know the game was
Penn
going on.
State is playing Furman right now. They tipped at 11:30.
Down there in
Penn
Charleston,
State is winning by the last time I checked, it was almost 40 points in the first half.
Did you bet that Penn State Butler game? Was that Butler?
No, did not get that one in time. And
thank God.
And
Tough
yeah,
beat.
I was leaning Butler, and Penn State covered by a half a point.
What time are we getting out of here?
Let's say 12:27, assuming Mike gets in here right
minutes.
now. Let's say 12:27, because I know Mike being live this week and not being pre-recorded. Also, great story from Mike on his pre-recorded segment from last week. It just sounded like he had to skirt some responsibilities with some sort of a meeting or something, that he was like back in a back room, and
sounded like he was in a hurricane.
Yeah.
It looked like he was in a hurricane.
Yeah, it looked like he was in a natural disaster shelter, and he was having to. Okay, let's see if is Mike in yet?
Yes, he is in.
All right, let's fire Mike up here. Oh, look at what Mike has on! Look at what Mike has on. Uh-oh.
The show's great.
Oh, no.
It's good stuff.
There it is. There it is.
Hey, you know, the first thing in the technology world isn't on, okay? It wasn't on.
All right, let's see. Give us the flex
Let's
again.
go with the Bobbies. I got to find it because I'm looking backwards. But there it is. Let's go.
Roll Bobbies, baby. Roll Bobbies.
Yeah, we got a little issue now. We got Bowling Green coming up here for the Bobcat football.
That's tough.
Huge. But you're Bobcats. Go ahead, Mike.
How do we like Maction in the snow last night? Little Western Michigan, Central Michigan throwdown. It would have been in the stands, but now in my advanced age, I'm more of a sit back, put the blanket on, and watch it from the recliner type guy. It's sad. But yeah, at one time, in my day, I would have been out there.
It's sad how the mighty decline. It's sad how the mighty decline.
It's very sad. It's all right here. All mental.
Well, hopefully.
But they did make a snow dummy in the stands last night. They had a snow fan.
Oh, really? I didn't see that. I didn't see that.
Right, that was
great. Hopefully up here, Mike, you have some winners. And you know, to your credit, Mike, I want to give you some credit. Last week, you very kindly sent us a video. You very kindly sent us a video from a bunker. I'm not sure where you were in where in the world you were, but you sent us a video. You took the time. I wouldn't expect you to. It's your winner's bunker.
Nuclear fallout bunker? Were you?
Yeah, you know, I think it could be used for that. There's a lot going on down there. Yeah, just, you know.
So you send us this video, Mike, and you allowed us to manage our bankroll because you gave us a 10-day heads up on the Bengals and the Steelers.
That?
So you said, "Hey, look, I am so confident in the Bengals and the Steelers that through the bye week, I'm going to make sure that I give you this pick 10 days in advance.
Right. And it was, 5.5? Now it's 4.
It's
so I'm
even better for you.
I'm getting a better deal with 4.
You are.
Let's take it.
All right, let's hear your winners, Mike.
All right, here we go. We got tonight, right? We got Packers, and we've got the Titans.
I love we get the spreadsheet out.
You sure you don't want to do the next Thursday's game?
I got the sheet. Well, yeah, we can do that. Give me some numbers. I got numbers. All right, the Packers. Here we go. All right, the Packers are 28th against the rush, right? So they give up about 141 yards a game. Derrick Henry is minus 125 at 99.5. I think he gets that. And if he's going to run for more than 99.5, he's likely going to score. So let's go minus 150 on a touchdown for Derrick Henry. Okay? Reasonable. The Titans are very bad against the pass. They're 29th in the league, as a matter of fact. 273 yards a game. Aaron Rodgers averages 232. There's a little sweet spot here. Plus 135 if Aaron Rodgers goes 250 or more. He needs 18 more yards against the 29th rated pass defense in the NFL. I think that could happen.
So you're on the Aaron Rodgers train.
I'm on the Aaron Rodgers train to pass. He's averaging 235 yards a game, right? He needs 18 more yards at plus 135 against a very bad pass defense. I think they're going to try to run it more, but Tennessee's really good against the rush.
Yeah,
very good against the rush.
Okay.
As a matter of fact. Where's my number there? Yeah, defensively they're second. They've only given up 2 touchdowns, and they've only given up 766 yards all year.
I mean, you sold me.
Aaron Rodgers is going to have to throw.
No, I agree.
He's going to have
be cold out there, though.
Okay.
It's going to be cold.
Yeah, I understand that, but they've got it. It's at home, right? So they're used to that, allegedly.
Football weather.
If somebody wants to catch the ball, that's been the big challenge. Those guys have been open; they just haven't caught it.
If only they had a transcend.
You're a receiver, so you're supposed to catch it. We practice in August. We practice all this time. Catch it. Love of goodness. All right, here. This is a little bit of a stretch, but I think it's going to be pretty good. South Carolina State is playing Kentucky in men's basketball. It is a plus 39.5 for South Carolina State. They lost by 3 to South Carolina, so I think South Carolina State's going to cover that. UK needs a get back special, but they don't really need it against South Carolina State. They don't need to run them out of the building.
Okay. All right, so South Carolina State plus 39.5.
Plus 39.5.
Okay. All right.
It's 4.
Now I've got the Miami Redhawks at plus 5.5 against Marshall. Marshall lost to Queens College, 83-82. Ooh. Miami is averaging 77 points a game. They haven't won anything, but they're averaging 77 points. I think they can cover that against Marshall.
Yeah, I like that. I like that pick, Mike.
I think you Xavier guys are too close to the furnace with Travis Steele.
And he doesn't like the team. He says they're bad.
Oh, no.
Like he said that to people. He doesn't like the way they're playing, but still 77 points and you think you're bad? I think,
Well, that's all right.
Queens College.
Queens College?
Mike, move the phone.
It's in Charlotte.
Move the phone back however you just had it before you knocked it.
There.
No.
Is that good?
I don't know.
I think I'm moving around.
Well, okay. Go ahead.
All right. Now we're going to Notre Dame and Boston College. It's plus 20.5 for Boston College. I think Boston College covers that. Notre Dame's averaging 30 points a game. BC doesn't score much. They're averaging 19, but they're pretty good defensively. And Notre Dame's not really good defensively. They pass it. BC passes it, 259 yards a game. They don't run it well. Jurkovic is Notre Dame's former quarterback, I believe. He was on Notre Dame's roster, so he starts for BC. He'll be used to playing at Notre Dame. I know it's senior day for Notre Dame, but Irish give up 193 pass yards a game. So I think Boston College covers that at 20.5.
Okay.
And there you go. That's minus 110. So we've got value, boys. Value this week.
A lot of picks.
Mike, you have
no Joey Logano. It's over.
Yeah, what's going on?
No, Joey. I can't pick Joey Logano. Well, what do you want me to do? I don't see Daytona 500 futures out yet. But when I get them.
All right. Mike, so what do you think about the Bengals? You're still on the Bengals? You had a week to sleep on it.
Look, it was 5.5. I took it last week at 5.5. Pittsburgh's still bad. I like the Kenny Pickett story, but I still think the Bengals will show up.
Okay.
And win that one. Because they have to.
I like where your head's at.
It's Mike, November, boys. It starts now.
Do me a favor, Mike, and email me or send me that sheet so that I can tweet it out.
Certainly will.
Okay. Mike, you're the man.
Thanks,
as
boys.
always,
Mike.
every Thursday.
We'll
Roll
see ya.
Bobbies.
Roll Bobbies.
Go Bobcats. Let's go.
See you, Mike.
See ya.
It's the best part of our show.
I love Thursdays
That's a
with
guy.
Mike. It's
He's
the
great.
best. Okay.
All right.
I want to be fair to you for the work that you put in with the graphics and everything else that we're gonna have here on the show.
Okay.
Is 7.5 minutes enough time? We don't have
Yeah,
to
we're
run.
good. No,
we don't
we're
have to
good.
run through this.
We're good.
I don't want to rush.
We've just got a couple graphics. We got a couple games
Okay.
that we want to talk
Okay.
to.
All right.
Let's start right here with Thursday night football.
Yes.
You got the Tennessee Titans versus the Green Bay Packers. Tennessee is injured.
Yes.
They have some injuries. I think it's right around 3 points right now, right at a field goal. That being said, I still like Mike Vrabel going into Green Bay against a team that theoretically they should be better than. It's going to be cold. They run the ball better than Green Bay, and obviously when it's cold, running the ball is better. So I'm going to take the Titans +3. I've seen it at 3.5. If you get it 3.5, that's a good hook. Get it there. Also, I like Mason Crosby to kick 2 field goals. It is
to make 2 field goals.
To make two field goals. -120 on that. Green Bay is bottom of the league, 23rd in the league in red zone touchdown percentage. I think they get in the end zone about 50% of the time once they're in the red zone. I think they're going to have opportunities to score. I just don't think they're going to be able to punch it in. So give me Mason Crosby to kick 2 field goals at -120.
Okay, if you were listening to Tom's show right before we went to the break, I like the Packers in this one, but I don't feel confident enough to contradict you on this show. So I'm willing to be unified in this.
I like Mike Vrabel a lot. I bet him when he got 10 points.
What was
that against the Bills?
Yeah.
Was that against the Bills where he got a double digit? Maybe it was against the Chiefs. But double digits, I like Mike Vrabel a lot. So much. Casey, go ahead and give us – we're going to start a new thing in here. We start something every Thursday, so might as well start a new thing. The Thursday teaser. You got that graphic?
Ooh.
Fire that bad boy
I
up.
like this. All right.
Hang on one second.
It's here
Thursday
somewhere.
teaser.
Thursday
right
teaser.
There.
Fire it up
Right
for
there.
me.
All right, so I'm going to tease this down just to feel a little more confident. Mike Vrabel going down to +9.5, and then it's also going to be cold conditions. A team that doesn't like to score a whole lot in the red zone in the Packers, go ahead and tease that total up to 47.5. So you get double digits practically with the Titans, and 47.5. That's going to be -110 on your odds. Tease that. Bet it big. I think it's going to hit. Guarantee it.
I love that. I love that teaser. Great way to introduce the Thursday teaser.
Thursday teaser.
I love
Throw it
that.
around.
Tennessee +9.5 tonight, and the under 47.5. I see in the chat, our only pick in the chat right now is Derrick Henry, anytime touchdown scorer, and that just barely qualifies to be a chat pick. It's got to be -200 or better odds. It's at -195.
Oh, I thought it was at like 165.
Oh, is it? Surboy Wonder put it in there at -195.
Regardless, it feels safe that Derrick Henry is going to get in the end zone at some point in the game.
Mike just it's actually at -150 now, and I think that's where Mike gave it at. So Surboy Wonder, get yourself some better odds. Make yourself some more money. Risk a little less, maybe.
Yeah. Get on a different app there. All right, let's go ahead. I was talking to the great Sean Spurlock. He's been on and off with the picks. Honestly, these picks on Thursday night on this show have been a little cold as of late. A little cold after the turn. But Spurlock went into the Spurlock algorithm and fetched out a pick tonight. It is the Pony Express from Southern Methodist University, +3.5. They play tonight. And here's the thing that I will preface this. Spurlock's algorithm, you can go ahead and flush that off the screen, Casey. Spurlock's algorithm has been out on the Tulane Green Wave all season long. They play tonight, 3.5 points, but he likes SMU +3.5. I'm going to ride with the Spurlock tonight, as I always ride with these groups picks, and I'm going to take SMU +3.5. Do you like either one of those sides?
Yeah.
Then no.
I don't want to. I haven't looked at it enough to know. Here's one that I will give out though. TCU tonight is -17.5 at home. They're playing Louisiana Monroe at home. Right now, Ken Pom has that as an 18-point spread. TCU lost to Northwestern State the other day, 64-63. They did not look good against Lamar. They looked terrible against Arkansas Pine Bluff in the season opener. They won both of those games. I am going to continue to fade TCU tonight. Louisiana Monroe +17.5.
Ooh. All right, Louisiana Monroe.
Okay.
17.5. What else you got for us?
And then there was one other college basketball one that I was looking at for tonight. Let me pull my lines back up here. Reed, while I'm doing this, was there anything else?
You mentioned TCU, so I'm going to go to the pigskin side of things.
Okay.
So that's a really weird line. I don't have a dog in the fight yet. I'll probably bet this game at some point, just depending on how my bets are going on Saturday, which I'll put a full list out Saturday morning on Not Too Picky's Twitter. But that line is currently, I believe, 2.5. So right around a field goal in favor of TCU, who obviously is in the college football playoff right now, 4th in the country, playing against an unranked Baylor team who just got dog-walked last week against Kansas State. Vegas really likes Baylor. I think Vegas has been out, and this is weird because last week Vegas lost money on TCU playing Texas.
Yep.
A lot of people bet TCU. Apologize, TCU. Yeah, they lost money because TCU bet that.
Yeah.
It was a weird spread. And also there was a weird spread in the Baylor game against Kansas State. Baylor was favored 2.5 points over Kansas State, who is ranked. Baylor's not had a good season. And then Kansas State just completely dog-walked them.
Yep.
So it's going to be weird on Saturday. I don't know where I'm at on that yet, but if I had to lean some way, I think I'd keep riding with the Bears.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
I'll put a full list out.
The Wheel of Winners.
Ooh, yeah. There's a statement that
we need 15 seconds on that. Go.
The Wheel of Winners is going to put out a pick, I believe, for Thursday Night Football tonight.
Okay.
It has been cold as of late, but I will remind you that the Wheel of Winners has never lost a National Basketball Association game nor a National Hockey League game. It has never lost a bet.
Or you're forgetting the most important one. It's never lost a World Cup game.
It has
either.
not lost a World Cup. It's also never lost a Major League Baseball bet. So
when you look at it from that way, I'm hearing a lot of complaints about the Wheel of Winners.
It will be back out in full force. Casey, cue up a prop. You got one for us yet?
I'm actually going to cheat again today.
That's fine.
Weekly winners?
The weekly special is really good. Let me look back at this again. It's Aaron Jones 100-plus scrimmage yards and Derrick Henry 100-plus rushing yards for plus 280.
Oh,
okay.
All right.
Got some things.
Ooh, 2.8 times your money.
Sir Boy Wonder wants either anytime touchdown scorer Derrick Henry at minus 150 that we're seeing in our sports book and first touchdown scorer plus 340 for Derrick Henry.
Let's take the anytime touchdown score.
Anytime. All right. So
okay.
I'm going to close this show with this Sunday's game, the Bengals, the one that Mike teased last Thursday in the final 15 seconds. Mike Tomlin is a jabroni who keeps wearing sunglasses. I've never felt more confident than the Bengals winning this game. I'm taking them -4, taking it before it gets bet down because it will. It'll be my biggest bet of the season so far. Who day win this ball game?
Who day?